at a children's hospital are delighted by the visit of Madame Houphouët-Boigny. She sees the treatment being given to restore muscle control to a little polio victim. The gracious First Lady of the Ivory Coast knows the way to a child's heart. Across the street from the hospital, an entire school comes out to cheer Madame Houphouët-Boigny. The next day, she sends each child a flower. At the Congress of the United States, there is an afternoon tea in honor of the President of the Ivory Coast. Legislative leaders are eager to have the benefit of his experience in international affairs. A reception at the Ivory Coast Embassy for the chiefs of diplomatic missions at Washington is attended by many distinguished guests. After greeting the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Ambassador of Nicaragua, President Houphouët-Boigny mingles among the guests. The President and Mrs. Houphouët-Boigny meet the Ambassador of Guinea, Seydou Kanté, and his wife. Frédéric Guerme, Ambassador of Upper Volta, and Madame Guerme. The Ghanaian ambassador in Curacao, Madame Houphouët-Boigny impresses everyone with her beauty and elegance. On May 24th, United States astronaut Scott Carpenter orbits the Earth 3 times. On that day, President Houphouët-Boigny comes to address a luncheon of the National Press Club. As the president begins to speak, the news comes that Scott Carpenter has made a safe landing. His recovery is awaited momentarily.
Nos pensées vont en effet affectueuses vers Carpenter.
Our thoughts go with affection to Carpenter, second American astronaut. We would like to be able to share with you, within the next few moments, the assurance of this victory, which is not only the victory of a man, not only the victory of American science and technology, which do credit to this great country, but above all, the victory of peace.
Non pas seulement la victoire de la science et de la technique américaine qui font honneur à ce grand pays, mais surtout la victoire de la paix.
The audience, which includes United States Undersecretary of State for African Affairs, Menon Williams, and Conan Bédier, Ambassador of the Ivory Coast, hears the President discuss his foreign policy.
Paix en Afrique, coopération avec tous les États africains.
Peace in Africa, cooperation with all African states. That is the basis of our policy. But Africa is not alone in the world, and we are not for a policy of isolationism. The interdependence of peoples having become the golden rule, we have sought, since our accession to independence, to establish full cooperation with the countries which share with us the same ideals of freedom and justice and have faith, as we do, in democracy.
Qui partagent avec nous des mêmes idéaux de liberté, de justice, et qui ont foi comme nous dans la démocratie.
A summer shower hits the city on the evening that President and Madame Houphouët-Boigny give a state dinner at the Mayflower Hotel. Tonight, the First Lady of the United States and President Kennedy are the guests of President and Madame Houphouët-Boigny on the last evening of their 3-day visit to Washington. There is still a moon in the early morning sky when, at Washington's railroad station, the visitors from the Ivory Coast board a special train. The 7 o'clock express out of Washington will reach New York City in 4 hours. It's a 225-mile journey. In the president's official party are his special assistant, Guy Neret, and the ambassador to the United Nations, Arsène Assouan-Oucher. Seen from the Brooklyn Bridge, New York is like a fantasy of the future. Somewhat bewildering at first when you ride the streets and look up at the skyscrapers. New York in the daytime is a city in perpetual motion. New York is 8 million people. In New York, the president and his wife see a city where people from all over the world, of all races and creeds, live and work side by side. A city where the United Nations has its home. The headquarters of the United Nations was finished several years ago. But what the United Nations stands for, lasting peace among nations, is still the unfinished business of our world community. President Houphouët-Boigny pays a formal call at the United Nations. His host is Acting Secretary General U Thant of Burma. The President of the Ivory Coast declares that his country will always be a vigorous and diligent supporter of the United Nations. New Yorkers have their own exuberant way of showing a visitor that he is welcome to their city. A ticker tape parade along Broadway. The parade ends at City Hall, where the president receives the official honors of the city. But if New York is an American landmark, so is Philadelphia, birthplace of American independence. In Philadelphia, the University of Pennsylvania, founded by Benjamin Franklin, philosopher, man of science, leader of the American Revolution, confers on the President the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws. Before a large audience of graduating students, faculty, and civic leaders, the President expresses his deep emotion at being so honored here in Philadelphia. He, the statesman who led his country to independence. Independence Hall in Philadelphia is the shrine of American liberty, where the Declaration of Independence was issued on July 4th, 1776. The news was greeted with the pealing of this bell, now known as the Liberty Bell. As the President of the Ivory Coast pauses here on his American journey, we recall what Abraham Lincoln said, that there was something in that Declaration of Independence giving liberty not alone to the people of this country, but hope for the world for all future time.